Border Patrol head Mark Morgan under Trump 45. And I got so many questions for him, given the state of affairs that we're in now, obviously with the Iranian conflict, but more so, um, perhaps as a result of the Iranian conflict, definitely as a result of Biden's open border policies during his tenure. I think we have to be extremely aware of sleeper cells. So I think the first thing that I'd like to ask you, Mark, is are we safer today, in your opinion, um, than we were under the Biden administration?
That's a tough question,
Wow.
because part of what the Biden administration did during its 4 years, during its open border invasion strategy that I call it, made our country less safe, jeopardized really every aspect of our safety, national security. So, although I think the current administration under President Trump is trying to reverse that, Carl, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but for us to be able to reverse what Biden did, honestly, could take us generations.
Really?
So no, and let's put it this way real quick. So I'll phrase it in the way that we've heard the FBI in the past, as well as the greater U.S. intelligence community. They say that right now the threats that we face from an international terrorist organization has been the highest it's been since 9/11. They refer to it as a rogues gallery of these terrorist organizations calling for attacks against America and American interests. And so, and they specifically then talk about the border, how it's an existential threat to our national security. So when you look at what Biden did over 4 years to let in 10 to 12 million illegal aliens, anywhere between 1 to 2 million known and unknown gotaways from countries that we know sponsor, harbor, and facilitate terrorism. Carl, I've been saying for a very long time, it's not if or when a sleeper cell comes to the United States. They're already here. So our country is not more safe. Now, what I will say, I know I'm going on here. What I will say is the country is more safe today than it was a year ago.
Sure. Oh man, honestly, I feared you would answer that. I feared you would answer that way. I am so appreciative of President Trump doing all that he can to eliminate the threats inside of the United States of America. But it's going to take more than 4 years, obviously, um, as you mentioned, and we need to be fully aware of this. Let me ask you this quickly: we have now I guess she's going to be former head of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Obviously, you have Mark Wayne Mullen. He had his confirmation hearing, or at least the beginning of his confirmation hearings yesterday. But what I was disturbed to find out, frankly, under Kristi Noem, is that we haven't got as much of the wall built as I thought we had, which is very discouraging.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of concerns, during the time that Kristi Noem served as a Secretary of DHS. And I think, honestly, I'm not trying to avoid the answer, Carl, but this is very genuine. What I would
Sure.
say is now we're in a period of she's gone. So let's
Okay.
move on,
Fair.
right?
Fair.
And yes, I think we can all agree there were some issues with how the interior enforcement operations were carried out. We look at the wall, it seems to be moving at a slower process. Those are our legitimate, fair concerns and issues. And I think in part collectively led to her removal. So now we have a great opportunity with the senator to move forward and move on. You mentioned the hearing. Unfortunately, in today's world, hearings, I think, are heavy on theatrics and less, more so on
Yeah.
substance. And that's unfortunate for the American people because that's really one of the only opportunities the American people really gets to see the individual going to be leading this country. And so that was a little bit frustrating for me.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so much partisanship and political theater that goes on in these hearings right now. It's unbelievable. Let me ask you this: what more can the Trump administration do now to deport or discourage illegal immigrants? Because I do have to admit, even though we're moving past Kristi Noem and Bavino is retiring, I believe as of yesterday, at least he announced his retirement. One of the things that I did like was kind of the fear factor, the self deportation factor. What else do we need to
Yeah.
do? I know we're focusing on criminal illegal aliens, and that is a small percentage of the illegal immigrants that have come into the country. What more should we be doing or focusing on in order to try to at least put a dent in the damage that the Biden administration did with open borders?
First of all, Carl, there's a lot there to unpack. I tell you what, I'll come back on your show anytime, because that question, I'm being serious. That question shows you're really paying attention to this issue. And there's a lot of things there. I guess the first way that I would go to answer a series of questions, let's go back to what the president campaigned on before he returned to the White House and the statements he made. One of his platform, one of his signature issues was that he was going to carry out the country's largest mass deportation operation that we've ever seen. And why was that? Why do we need that? Well, because this president, more so than any other modern day president, knows that to stop the flow of illegal immigration, to protect our borders, to ensure the safety and national security of this country, we've got to secure our borders, and we've got to de-incentivize the flow of illegal immigration. And one of the most important ways that we do that is we have to send a message to the entire world that our laws matter, that the package of immigration laws will be enforced, regardless of the category of demographic you fall in. If you're in this country illegally, to put integrity back in the system, right, to mean that the laws that Congress passed mean something, is that we've got to remove everyone. During the campaign, the president knew that. And what have we seen the first year? As you mentioned, we see what we call phase one, that the administration has really doubled down, tripled down, going after, quote, the worst of the worst, illegal aliens that have committed additional crimes. The problem with that, as you just pointed out, is that's actually a tiny, small subset of the 20 million illegal aliens that are here. So what I hope we're going to see, what we're calling phase two, and I hope what we're going to see Secretary Mullen carry out, is to open that aperture up. Is that, yes, going after criminal illegal aliens will always be a priority and a focus, but we have to open that up. For example, we need to go after the 1.5 million illegal aliens who have a final order removal from a judge, the hundreds of thousands of visa overstays. And here's another thing we have to focus on: going after United States employers who knowingly and willingly violate the law by hiring illegal aliens so they can pay them cheap wages to marginalize an already U.S.-born marginalized workforce. That's what we need to do. We need to open that aperture up.
Oh, wow. 1.5 million. That is a scary number. But listen, I appreciate you being blunt with us. Another thing that I'm concerned about, I look at some of these student visas, and I look at this guy, Mahmoud Khalil, that was in Gracie Mansion, whining and dining with the Islamic mayor. And I say that intentionally. That's just me. I do believe that this guy is a communist, but I also believe he's an Islamist. And I think that people sometimes passed over that, and that concerns me. Mark, we just found out the other day from the Free Beacon that his wife is, I mean, seriously, an Islamic terrorist sympathizer. And again, guys, I am speaking to the former director of the Customs and Border Patrol under Trump 45, Mark Morgan. I'm concerned about people like this, the Mahmoud Khalils, the people that are radicalizing some of our American students on these college campuses. This is another avenue I think we really need to pay attention to and do something about, frankly.
We do. Look, this goes to the heart of something, unfortunately, in this politically charged environment we don't talk enough about, and we're not honest with the American people, and that is assimilation. Right? We always want to talk about, our country is founded on immigrants, which is factual. Well, we are also founded on the rule of law. And, right, and the government has an inherent responsibility, as outlined in the Constitution, to safeguard our country's safety and national security. And one of that is we've got to make sure that the individuals coming to our country fully assimilate into this country. What you just outlined shows, I think, a perfect example of what's not happening in today's world, what's not happening within our immigration system, especially when you start talking about the flow of illegal aliens. We've got to take a hard look at this. Look, I'll go back to what we're hearing for the greater U.S. intelligence community and beyond, is that, terrorist organizations right now, when you can move from ideology to radicalization at the speed of social media, and then from radicalization you throw in an intervening event, and they can go from radicalization to action in a heartbeat. That's a challenge. The lone wolf offenders. And so when you have something right now, Iran, when you flooded our country with individuals that really never have assimilated to U.S., they still have held on to their original ideology. And then I said, as these terrorist organizations are reaching out and trying to self-radicalize these individuals, that can happen rapidly. You take an intervening event like what's going on in Iran, they can move to action. This is something we should all be seriously concerned about.
Oh man. I'm speaking to again the former director of Customs and Border Patrol under Trump 45, Mark Morgan. Mark, I got to ask you, is there any way you can stick with us for one more segment after this? I got so many more questions. If your time is tight, that's absolutely fine.
No, I'm
But if
good,
you
Carl. I can
can,
stay.
okay, all right, perfect. Because there's so much that I want to get to, especially when it comes to the Iranian conflict and the ramifications of that. I, for one, I honestly, I think we're seeing one of the best military operations that we've seen simply in America in a long time, simply because Trump has allowed our warriors to take the gloves off, and I do think it's crucial. I do think it's an America First policy. However, what I want to do is cover with Mark Morgan the ramifications that we might see here on the homeland. This is the Carl Jackson Show. We'll be back in a moment. All right, guys, just a reminder that you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our show, all things social media at Carl Jackson Show. At the Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find us. And if you share this interview with your friends or check it out on the Salem News Channel, it'll be on the Salem News Channel this weekend, so make sure you have them check it out there as well. I want to return to my guest, Gabe. If you would count us down, we'll go right back to it here. Yes. Okay, welcome back to the program. Again, I'm joined with my guest, Mark Morgan, former Customs and Border Patrol head under Trump 45. And we're talking about, honestly, the open border crisis under the Biden administration, obviously spilled into the Trump administration. We have to deal with it now, but this is going to be a long fight. And this is why we need not only Trump's 4 years, but we need another conservative warrior in afterwards that'll continue to fight this battle. I got to ask you, legal immigration. I mean, we let in nearly 1 million legal immigrants every year. I mean, we're a generous country, more than any other nation on the amount of people that we let into this country legally. And then you have the illegal immigration that has just been overwhelming. Should we put some type of restraints on legal immigration? And before you answer, Mark, let me just remind everyone, we've seen 4 Islamic terrorist attacks in our homeland in just the last few weeks. We had the mass shooting in Austin, Texas, with the guy that wore property of Allah. We had an attempted bombing in New York City with these 2 Islamists, one of wealthy means, a shooting at Old Dominion University, one that pledged basically his allegiance to Allah. Obviously, we had the attack with the Temple Israel shooter, and his brother was literally a higher up in Hezbollah. I mean, legal immigration, should we put some more restraints on that?
Yeah, Carl, look, this is something that we don't talk enough about, is the legal immigration side of things. And you just enumerated and articulated very well the recent attacks that we've seen. And these are all naturalized citizens that we're talking about here. So again, like I mentioned before, that clearly shows there's a problem with our legal immigration system. The world is different than it was in 1776. Global threats didn't exist like they do today that can move, as I said, at the speed of social media. So we should be taking a look at our legal immigration system to make sure that those individuals that we're letting into our house, we're letting into our home, that we have the proper ability to fully vet them and to ensure that we identify where their allegiance stands to try to eliminate the radicalization that we're seeing from within. It just makes sense. I always look at if you're at a home, Carl, with your family and a total stranger knocks on your door and says, hey, I'd like to come in and kind of crash on your couch for a couple of days. You're not going to let that person in. Common sense dictates that, right? And that's kind of the same thing we're saying here. So yeah, I think we have to take a look at our legal immigration system to do a better job.
And obviously, Mark, a lot of people are ignoring the fact that Democrats are keeping at least a partial government shutdown when it comes to the DHS, and their goal is to impact ICE and law. etc. But some of the things that they mentioned that they want, and I want to get your take on how this will impact perhaps our ability to be able to catch sleeper cells here. They want the end of the use of probable cause administrative warrants and instead require officers to seek a judicial warrant to conduct operations, which means illegals will never leave the United States. Two of their demands require that ICE agents demask and display their names on their uniforms, which is insane because we know that these guys will be doxxed. I don't want them wearing masks, but they have to. The antagonizers, the rioters out there are wearing masks. They want to restrict officers from conducting operations at sensitive locations, including polling places. Ironically, so how convenient. And they want to stop the requirement of racial profiling. I think this is so stupid. Frankly, obviously, you're going to have to racially profile. It's just common sense. That's the way that it works. I mean, you can catch some Europeans, but they're far and few between, as opposed to people who are coming in from countries that happen to be of darker skinned persuasion. But how is this going to impact, in your mind, perhaps sleeper cells that may pop up in the United States?
Look, Carl, you said it several times when you're reading off those statements. Is it's all about restricting, right? It's about trying to neuter ICE's capability to do their statutory responsibility, which today, still after 4 years of Biden, Carl, I just don't understand it. Everyone in this country saw what happened the 4 years under Biden. Again, that's why I think is a large reason why President Trump is back in the office, because what Biden did to our borders, and the people in this country understands how it directly impacts the safety and national security of this country. So rather than Congress getting together on a bipartisan matter to actually address the loopholes in our immigration laws, to actually give ICE and Customs Border Protection the ability to more effectively safeguard our borders and more effectively actually enforce the immigration laws to protect the safety and national security, they're actually trying to limit their authority. And you mentioned the mask. I like the way you said it. I agree with you. I don't like the mask look either. I don't. But guess what? You're right. If that's the cost of what we have to do to protect the agents' lives and their families for doing their job, then heck yeah, I'm for that. And they should resist that. Even putting their name. This isn't like a local police department. Local police departments' families are not being doxxed or not being threatened. There are different ways you can put a number. There's several different ways that you can identify an ICE agent without putting their name out there and risking their lives or the lives of their families.
Another thing I am concerned about, Mark, I live in Florida here in the Central Florida, Orlando area. And I got to tell you, right now they're memorializing the Pulse nightclub, and that's fine. Do what you want. But what I don't like is the narrative that has been shared over the 10 years after the shooting, and that is that this Islamic terrorist intentionally hunted down gay people. First off, they never mentioned the fact that the guy was an Islamic terrorist, which I really believe is dangerous. How can you identify the enemy if we won't call them out for who they are? And this guy literally searched on his phone at the time to find clubs that were open where he could perform basically a mass shooting event. I mean, he even looked at what's now known as Disney Springs, but then it was downtown Disney. He saw that there were armed guards. He left. He checked another club. They had security guards. Pulse just happened to not have security guards in the front, and they had one entry, one exit. Everybody is making it a homosexual issue as opposed to an Islamic terrorist issue. And given what we're enduring right now with this Operation Epic Fury, this is another concern of mine because we can't call out the threat, or at least the left-wing media won't call out the threat. We're probably going to see even more Islamic attacks happen right here on the homeland.
Yeah, the old saying, right? Don't let facts get in the way of a good emotional political argument, right? I mean,
So
if I remember right, most of the articles started off with Floridian attacks, fill in the blank, right? Not as you said.
Yep.
And we see that across the board, right? We see it with undocumented immigrants instead of illegal aliens, which is a statutory definition, which is actually what they are. We could go on and on with respect to that. And it is frustrating when we see that kind of stuff because it's intentional. Again, rather than talking about the facts, the Iranian epic fury right now. You mentioned that. Let's just, I'd like to talk about proxies have killed more Americans than any terrorist organization in our lifetime. It's just a fact. The fact also that president after president, Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter, have been trying to stop the Iranian regime from acquiring nuclear capabilities, and they failed again and again. Those are facts that we don't see being discussed. The other fact that we don't discuss is, again, during the Biden administration, they let in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens that we call special interest aliens. Why do we call them that? Because they come from countries that we know sponsor, harbor, and facilitate terrorism, to include, wait for it, Iran, right? And also during the Biden administration, we encountered over 400 illegal aliens on the known terrorist watch list, the known or suspected terrorist watch list. The previous 8 years combined, I think it was around.
Oh man, did we lose Mark? I believe that we lost. Okay, so we lost Mark. This is live, unfortunately. Oh man, such a great interview. But anyway, we will try to get him back up. If we cannot, we will move on with the program. But I mean, the numbers compared to the amount of special interests, or if you will, terrorists that came in during the Biden administration compared to the years that he's talking about, I think it was probably 5% of that number. It was a very low number. I can't believe that we lost him right then. But anyway, I appreciate him joining us. We got to the crux of most of the issues. I wanted to talk about human trafficking and some of the gotaways, but he was addressing pretty much some of the, or he was going to be addressing the gotaways. But anyway, that was former head of the Customs and Border Patrol, Mark Morgan. I hope you guys did enjoy the interview. We were just going to wrap it up in a couple minutes because I had a couple more questions for him. We only had 1 minute left. So honestly, that stinks. But we did get a wealth of information from him. He's a great interview, and we will have him back. We will have him back in the future as well, just to let you guys know. But what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do is after this segment, we just have a minute left here. I'm going to talk to you about this Joe Kent situation. I didn't want to get into this, but I am going to get into this because I think it's crucial. I think what we're witnessing is what I'm calling Operation Epic Sabotage. And that's from people both on the left and those that claim to be on the right. I think it is a total and utter disgrace. I think that Joe Kent, despite his service for the U.S. as an Army Special Forces guy, I mean, that's absolutely admirable. But honestly, guys, I'm just going to shoot straight with you. When you have somebody that's an alleged leaker that's probably causing harm to other men and women on the battlefield, I feel like that's a disgrace. If he is in fact a leaker, and now he is going to be investigated for being a leaker. Okay, how long do we have here? Mark is back. How long do we have, Gabe? Okay, all right, let's bring him back in real quick. Okay, Mark, we only have 1 minute left here. I'm sorry, I don't recall what happened, but you were mentioning how we had, I think, 400, I believe it was special interest terrorists. Finish that point if you would.
The Biden administration let in hundreds of thousands of special interest aliens that came from countries that we know sponsor, harbor, and facilitate terrorism. In addition to that, we encountered over 400 illegal aliens that are on the terrorist database, that are known or suspected terrorists or have ties to individuals like that. The previous 8 years, I think it was 8 combined. So this clearly goes back to what I've been saying for a very long time. It's not if or when the terrorist threat comes to our borders or inside our country, Carl. It's already here.
You said 8 combined compared to 400?
Correct. I mean, Carl, facts matter. Facts matter.
That is insane. That is insane.
It is.
And of course, human trafficking that the left doesn't want to talk about. But I mean, that's absolutely insane. We got 30 seconds. Could you speak to that real quick?
Yeah, Carl, you're absolutely right. Look, a lot of people are smuggled. They're also being trafficked simultaneously. We just don't know it. We know that Doctors Without Borders has said 30% of young women or children are raped or sexually assaulted on the journey up here. And again, after they get here, they're further extorted for additional money and they can't pay it. So they're thrust and forced into life of labor. Sex trafficking is happening every day.
Ah, man. Former Director of Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan, thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge and an asset to this nation. God bless you.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, guys. Again, you're listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Gabe, I believe that we're good here with Mark. Let us know here. Okay, we've got you up, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. I don't know if I should feel discouraged or happy from all of the information, but
discouraged where we're at right now, but feeling good that we've got somebody in the White House that's trying to reverse it.
Okay, perfect. All right,
okay.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You bet. Bye.
Okay, guys, just a reminder, you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. Please be sure and to like, share, and subscribe to the Carl Jackson Show, wherever you go to get your podcast, all things social media at Carl Jackson Show, at the Carl Jackson Show. I'm a little annoyed because I got to start going back to the cleaners. Like I ironed my shirt to make sure my collars don't flop. And obviously I'm not doing as good of a job as the cleaners do. Also, please go to carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com. It is a store that we've opened up with the Salem Network so that you can get your merchandise that will have some of my slogans on it. Don't grow weary doing good, daily dose of freedom. And so that is up, carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com. Okay, I want to get into the give me just a sec. I want to just pull up. I just want to pull up the website here real quickly here, and we'll get into this Joe Kent stuff because I think it is extremely important that we talk about what's going on and deal with this stuff honestly, because this is a total. This whole all of this this Tucker Carlson stuff, this Joe Kent now. You've got Candace Owens, who I was going back and forth as to whether or not her intentions were nefarious, and they are. And I want to nip this thing in the bud because this is total nonsense. These people that are spreading this lie that this is first off that we're in a war, we're in a conflict. And anyway, I've got to touch on this because it is just so upsetting, and I just think it's so disloyal and anti-American. And honestly, you can be against war. That's totally fine. You can have an honest debate, and that is just fine. But this is sabotage. What we're seeing anyway. Let me let me take a quick sip, Gabe, and then let's get into this. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. All right. So yeah. All right. So just a reminder, I meant to mention the SAVE Act with Mark Morgan because that is very crucial. But a lot of good things going on. Uh, Iran's intelligence chief is no longer among the living. Guys, this is the most successful operation that we've seen in quite some time. I would argue since World War II. And you have people like the SecDef, Pete Hegseth, or Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. You have, oh man, this thing printed a couple times. You have Stuart Scheller that's advising him. Again, those of you may or may not remember Stuart Scheller. Did you say you're ready, Gabe? May or may not remember Stuart Scheller. We'll get into that. But I just want to break this stuff down because I'm tired of these people lying about our servicemen and women. It's just got to stop. I printed double stuff here, so I'm getting confused. So that's why I'm kind of. Let me throw some stuff out the back door, if you will. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry here. All right, let's I'm just gonna have to do this thing. Two. So, okay. Okay. All right. Let's go right in. Let's go right into it. All right. Welcome to the All right, welcome to back to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies, guys. In this particular segment or segments, we're going to be talking about Operation Epic Sabotage, and I believe that's what we saw with Joe Kent. Joe Kent came out and made some statements recently that Israel is to blame for the war, that President Trump has been misled, that Israel forced him into the war. You're talking about a population that is what is Israel, like one tenth the size of the United States. They talk about AIPAC, all of these anti-Semites pretending to be on the right. They talk about AIPAC as if AIPAC is this major lobbying firm. AIPAC started off with literally nothing. What was it, like 30, 40, maybe longer years ago? And then it's an American lobbying organization, a legal lobbying organization. You could argue that since they began, that they have been very ineffective at lobbying inside of the United States. You have the liars that are claiming to be on the right that are saying this is a Israeli organization. No, it's an organization, for those of you that may or may not know, that is made up of both Christians, evangelical Christians, and Jews. It is an American lobbying firm, and they have been highly, I hate to say this, unsuccessful in lobbying up until more recently, when people are starting to realize, oh my goodness, Islamic terrorism is a problem. Oh my goodness, we just elected, or New York City just elected an Islamist as the mayor. We've got new information that his wife was literally praising the first female Islamic hijacker. She was praising death to Israelis. And that's on top of the X posts and things that they found that are more recent. And then they want to say that this war is not success. Are you kidding me? Actually, I'm sorry to call it this conflict. We're not in a war yet. Congress has not declared war, and all it is a declaration. Congress doesn't even the power to engage, the power to make war lies solely in the hands of the executive branch. Now, it's up to the Congress whether or not, after the War Powers Resolution, you can debate whether or not that's legal. But the 1973 War Powers Resolution Act, which gives the president 60 days basically to engage in a conflict, 30 days to withdraw. Before he decides to do that, he has to allow Congress 48 hours, or give them 48 hours notice, which he did. So right now, we're still living in that framework. Guys, we're not even, we're closing in on 3 weeks. So literally, if the president wanted to wrap this up in 60 to 90 days, he could do so without Congress declaring war. And to say that Iran is not an imminent threat, what is your definition of imminent? How many Americans over a 46, 47-year stretch have to be murdered? 45 plus attacks on Americans, killing Americans. Nobody talks about this. It's because we ignored it. For decades, we ignored it. And now you have a president that saw what the commies around the world, they were conspiring against the United States, both Russia, China, Venezuela, which is no longer a problem, Cuba, who all of a sudden, Greta Thunberg is no longer a green warrior, complaining about Cuba and saying they need oil because they've been experiencing blackouts across the entire island. I think they've got a few lights up now. So now Greta Thunberg, that was this climate change warrior, is now all of a sudden they need oil. Cuba needs oil. Cuba needs oil. Meanwhile, you had islands in our own hemisphere coordinating with China, with Russia to undermine the United States of America. Excuse me, I got it. This is the most effective war. Guys, listen, in a span of 3 weeks, and this is, excuse me, this is why it was done. In a span of 3 weeks, or how it's been done, President Trump has taken the gloves off of the military. I see all these black pillars out there. Carl, you never been in the military. You're just a war hawk. You're just a neocon. Call me whatever name you want, because that isn't a legitimate argument. What is a legitimate argument that America will be a safer place. The globe will be a safer place with the Iranian mullahs, the Iranian leaders. They have taken out the leaders. Guys, do you realize? Let me. Iran's intelligence chief is no longer among the living. This was just as of yesterday. So you had another Islamic terrorist in Iran that bit the dust. Israel and the U.S. scored another surprise on Iran's military establishment yesterday when the IDF took out the regime's eyes and ears. The intelligence minister, Ismail Khatib, died in a targeted airstrike. Okay, not to mention the other 50 or 60 leaders they took out. Excuse me. This has been one of the most successful military. You are witnessing one of the most successful military operations in American history. Guys, in the span of less than 3 weeks, they took out the major leaders of Iran. They eliminated the de facto leader of the Iranian terror regime just the other day, Ali Larijani. Nobody knows where the Gayatollah is. That's what they're calling them online. The son of the Ayatollah. I suspect he's dead. I want to see proof of life if he isn't. Israel takes out 300 some besieged commanders, including the top commander, Gola Rimza Soleimani. and the reason why this is so important is because these people, these liars out there in Karg Island, they've blown up Karg Island. The reason why they're doing this and what the United States is doing is the United States is taking out the military operations of Iran while you have Israel taking out the institutional, taking out the leadership so that the people of Iran will gain their confidence back and take their country back. And if we have peace in the Middle East, we don't have to send people to the Middle East to fight. Now you have the Gulf states that are openly, that were hiding before. You had Saudi Arabia sitting there pretending as the prince has been saying, blow the snot out of this place. Get rid of these people. Now you have Qatar and these other nations, Bahrain, all saying, hey, let's get rid of these people. Because they recognize that these people are crazy. And then you got Joe Kent out there lying. This guy allegedly is a leaker. I know, I appreciate his service. But guys, when you leak classified information, if this is true, you've just done a greater disservice to this nation. How many of the people that he fought alongside with did he just put in danger? Don't give me this crap that you can't talk about veterans. When veterans risk the lives of other veterans, you got to say something. It's a volunteer army. There's a reason why a civilian leads the armed forces. Because you got to make decisions for the United States without being emotional. And I get it, it's hard. But this is for the United States of America. Let's go to, what cut is this? Let's go to Joe Kent, and I'll share more. This is Joe Kent just 3 months ago, and I'll share what he shared the other day with his resignation. Cut 25.
They're still registering for the draft, aren't they? Like that's the logical conclusion to the direction that we're heading in right now, unless we make some serious changes.
I mean, I've already heard rumors that Fifth Group is going to be sending guys to Iraq because of the escalated situation with Iran now.
Yeah. I mean, most Americans aren't aware of it. Our troops in Iraq and Syria have been attacked 150 plus times by Iranian proxies. And when we say Iranian proxies, we got to be clear on what that is. That's the Iraqi government that we pay, because after the Iraqi military we spent $2 trillion on surrendered to ISIS, we had to go back in there in very short order and stand a military back up again. And guess who filled the breach? The Shia militias controlled by Iran did, and the Iraqi government's controlled by Iran. So
this is Joe Kent, the hypocrite, the alleged leaker last year on Sean Ryan's podcast. And I get it, man. These guys have been burned by our leaders. I get it. So what many soldiers are doing are comparing the conflicts and the Afghanistan, the Iraq debacle, if you will, to what President Trump is doing. We have not seen this type of military warfare in our lifetime, where the commander-in-chief says gloves are off, Navy gone, missiles gone, nuclear war capability gone, drones gone, the ability to be able to deliver missiles gone, besiege, dying, top leaders in Iran dead. The people are going to come out, and they're going to come out soon, because our commander-in-chief said the gloves are off. If you don't understand why Iran is America first, it's because you don't understand geopolitics. And honest to God, I believe that is the case with most of these online right-wingers. Yes, they understand domestic policy, and that's great. We should be infused with domestic policy, but we also have to understand that there are greater threats, or there's some threats outside of the United States that want to harm us here. We'll be back. All right, guys, just a reminder, you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of freedom, focusing on political, spiritual, and financial freedom, focusing on the Constitution. I'm your favorite Christian conservative American that happens to be black and handsome. I didn't say it, but I know you were thinking it. So I figured I'd just share it, just confirm. Just confirm, what do you believe? Anyway, all right, we'll get right back to this in just a second. Again, just a reminder, please like, share, and subscribe to the Carl Jackson Show. Please check out our store, carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com. Some goodies there for you with some of the slogans that you'll hear on the show, like your daily dose of freedom, like don't grow weary doing good, reference to a Bible verse. So please check that out. Sorry, I've literally been battling, first being sick, and now just the remnants of this cough for going on 3 weeks now. It's driving me nuts. So forgive me, guys, if I have to cough here a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. All right, let's get back to the programming here. Por favor, Gabe. Okay, I want to go to another clip. Again, I was just reiterating the fact that this is the most successful conflict that we have seen in the United States, at least since World War II. Guys, you have a lot of people don't like the way that the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, talks, because he just talks like a soldier, a plain soldier. He doesn't talk like one of these politicized, heavily, even though he's a smart guy, but one of these generals that are just political and inside the military and kiss the behind of politicians in Washington, D.C. The reason why we lose wars or conflicts is simply because we politicize them. You have President Trump and fighting for Israel. No, they're the little Satan. They call us the big Satan. The Islamic terrorists in Iran call us the big Satan. They're sending sleeper cells in. We got to send them notice. You don't think that once they look at where all these missiles are flying, all of these people, all of these Gulf states that thought, oh man, the Iranians are our friends, or we can acquiesce to them, we can kiss their butts, and they're going to be friendly with us because they're just after Israel after all, right? They're sending missiles into all the Gulf states which tells you they wanted to take them over. And they were building the capability. The reason why we decided to go at it now had nothing to do with Israel. The president has lined this up. No missiles, no nuclear capability. Free the Iranian people so we don't have to go back to the region. It's simple. They started outlining that from the get-go. Oh, they don't know about the Strait of Hormuz. Guys, there's video of President Trump going all the way back to 1980, talking about the Strait of Hormuz and the threat of Iran. It's baked into military action, which is why many presidents decided not to do this. And guys, I understand. Listen, it's going to be the economy, stupid, that gets this man, hopefully, that allows us to keep the House and the Senate. Hopefully they pass the Save America Act. You don't even have to get rid of the filibuster right now. You got 51 Republicans that are on board. Thank God. So the debate is starting. We need to start putting pressure on Democrats. But the success that we're seeing, tell me, what other conflict has the Navy been sank in days? The top leadership, virtually all of them. You've got the listen to this. Excuse me. Report. Iranian president, I can't even pronounce his name, Pezeshkian wants to resign. There's no one to whom he can submit the resignation to. So the current president of Iran says, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be the leader. I don't want to get smoked. That's how scared they are. You're not hearing this on CNN, on MSNBC. The leadership there is collapsing. The besieged commanders that I told you about, were the people that are going around shooting protesters in the head, in the chest, on their motorcycles, or walking through crowds. So now the IDF is killing them. The IDF, from what I understand, literally calling some of them. We know who you are. We know where to get you. Either side with the people or go to your 72 trans people. It's not going to be 72 virgins. And these people are getting terrified. The media won't share that with you because the so-called right, the Tucker Carlsons, the Joe Kents, the Candace Owenses of the world, they won't share this information with you. Why? Because they make money if America is unsuccessful. It's sick. It is perverted. It is evil what these people are doing. I never thought I'd be saying this about Carlson or Owens. But here we are. So let's set the record straight. Right here in my formerly fingerprinted fingertips. Here's what the alleged leaker, Joe Kent, an Operation Epic Sabotage, and it's bombed miserably because we got the guy on tape contradicting himself all over the place. More video popping up. And now he's being investigated for the leaks. And this investigation is ongoing. This investigation predates his resignation. The word is the reason he resigned is because he found out he was going to be under investigation for leaking. I don't want to diminish any man that has put his life on the line for this country. But when I believe that you're endangering people, more people, I just lose respect. I lose respect. So here's what Joe Kent had to say. The White House's counterterrorism chief resigned, whatever. And this was Tuesday, alleging that a pro-war echo chamber convinced Trump to strike Iran. He said, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Now, remember, by this time, he found out that he was under investigation for leaking. He said, Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Did you guys know that he was cut out of intelligence information because they believed he was a leaker? But when he was getting information, Dan Bongino has come out and said, no one in their right mind, and I'm paraphrasing, in this or in the Trump administration could say that because we were seeing the intel. He goes on Tucker Carlson. Well, Charlie Kirk said, don't start a war with Iran. Charlie Kirk wasn't in on the intel. I love Charlie Kirk. He wasn't in on the intel. As far as I know, anyway. And regardless, I'm sorry, that would be an area where I would disagree. I believe Iran is crucial to knock them out so we don't have to go back to the Middle East, or at least not as frequently. And if we do have to go back, it should be pinpoint strikes to say, bad boys, we told you, don't do that again. That's what the president is trying to do. Meanwhile, Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, all connected. China is getting much of their oil. There's a headline I won't even be able to get to. China, let's see. China's economy is basically down. Man, I don't have it in front of me. But China's they're lying about the economy in China. It's staying stagnant. They have to lie about the numbers so that their people don't go crazy and flip out on the leadership there. So they've seen negative growth for the first time in God knows how long in China. All of this stuff is connected. Trump is waging war against the people that want to destroy us. And by the way, he's exposing not just he exposed the fake media in his first tenure. Now he's exposing fake NATO. In my opinion, all these people that said they were for us. Now, again, going back to Kent stuff, I do have to mention that obviously Trump's response was, I always thought he was weak on security. I do have to make mention of this. Kent is a Gold Star family member. His wife, sadly, Shannon Kent, was killed. She was a member of the U.S. Navy. She was killed in an ISIS suicide bombing attack in Syria. He ran for Congress a couple of times, 3rd congressional district. He's now married to a woke, radical anti-Semite. So he was married to a warrior. Now he's married to a woke, anti-Semitic warrior, justice warrior. And if you don't think that makes a difference, it does. Here's what else Ken had to say. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the America media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sold pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran. He blamed Israel. He says, as a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel. So how is Israel manufacturing war when they're getting attacked? I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people. He said on Tucker Carlson's show that we strategically placed American soldiers there so that they could be attacked, so we could go to war. This is just insane. It's insane and it's absurd, and he got busted. He got caught. Because again, I'll use the word allegedly for now. He's a leaker, leaking classified information. And this is a major CYA movement. This is also Operation Epic Sabotage. Guys, there are a movement of people on the right that don't want to see Trump succeed because they want to take over the MAGA movement. That's the goal. That's the real goal. The goal is for these right-wing, quote unquote, because they're not really on the right, social justice warriors. They want to take over the MAGA movement. The Steve Bannons of the world. I forgot to mention him. They want to take it over. That's what they're doing. They're willing to sabotage a military mission so that they could take over the movement. They want Trump to be neutered in 2026, and then they can try to pick their candidate for 2028. The good news is they're not successful. More Americans are waking up to the fact that this Iran conflict is very successful. Now, I will say we're going to have to focus on the economy and get back there shortly and quickly. But people love what President Trump is doing with Iran. And Joe Kent is a whatever. Guys, listen, I had so much more and I had so much more video. But I think I basically said my piece. We'll probably use some of this video and keep a hold of it because I just could have played so much more. The CIA director, John Ratcliffe, says Joe Kent was completely wrong. Speaker Johnson, I don't know where Joe Kent is getting his information, but he wasn't in the briefings. Clearly, they had exquisite intelligence that we understood. This was a serious moment. President Trump responded to him. Caroline Leavitt, he put out this resignation with many falsehoods throughout, essentially accusing the president of being manipulated by foreign governments. That's laughable and insulting. You think anybody is influencing Trump? Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Islam is the greatest evil in the world and is the greatest threat to the U.S. I mean, it goes on. It goes on. Honestly, there's just so much I wanted to get to. We don't, but we'll listen. We'll be back. We'll be back with you next week if something major breaks. We'll be back in the meantime. I appreciate all of you tuning in. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good. Don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends about it, your family members about it. Por favor. Tell the people you can't stand about it. We'll take them. We'll take them too. Don't forget to visit carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com, carljacksonstore.com. Por favor. Certainly appreciate you guys being there. Again, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.